Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. We're going to be talking about the hypothetical in astrology. What if the moon could actually go retrograde? Now, I understand the moon does not go retrograde, but I'm just going to be talking about what if it actually, did, and how it would impact somebody in their natal horoscope. So, well, first off, the moon in astrology. Is connected with our reactions, our responses. So the fact if the moon could be retrograde, those are reactions and responses may be more subtle, more indirect, as opposed to somebody with a direct moon in their natal chart. So it could be, for example, let's say somebody had their moon in Scorpio in their natal chart. Well, the person may, respond to something. It could be like a vengeful type of response, so making it look like they accidentally, nicked or stepped on someone's bicycle tire as an example, very basic example. If there was some, response connected, with jealousy, that may be done in a more, indirect or subtle fashion in contrast to a moon that would be direct in Scorpio. And it could be, too, if the moon could go retrograde, I would say also there would be more of a review process prior to reacting or responding to something. Now, let's say, for example, somebody had the moon in Pisces and they had it retrograde. The thing is, it could be, there's a response connected with rescuing, such as, pulling somebody from a flood, something that's connected with compassion or altruism, or even where a response could simply be isolating oneself. This may be done with more review, more contemplation, thinking about, something before actually responding to it. Now, another thing about, if the moon hypothetically could be retrograde and how it would affect someone's natal chart, it could, I would say, could cause, a little more difficulty, in things that are connected with the moon, such as one's home, their family life. For example, let's say, somebody had the moon in Sagittarius in their natal chart, and they had it retrograde. Well, that could be, somebody, was really into, you know, adding the partitions or expanding their home, or, foreign travel connected with one's home life, may cause more stress or some emotional upsetment. If somebody's trying to get a very, more of an expanded, a prodigious home, or a very large home, there may be more difficulty in that, or simply being, just more enthusiastic and exuberant regarding one's home life. It may feel more, like some kind of adventure, just trying to get things done in one's home life in general. So, and you may have situations in Sagittarius is about philosophies and opinions. There may be more difficulty in those matters in terms of the beliefs and philosophies, and possibly contentious situations with family members as a result. Now, another thing, if the moon could go retrograde, I would say, that unconscious side of the person, may be more suppressed and held back. And let's say, for example, if somebody had the moon in Libra retrograde in their natal chart, well, the unconscious side, the qualities that would be, very charming, diplomatic, tactful, cooperative, sociable, refined. Those qualities, may be harder to express, outwardly, more so in contrast to the moon being direct. Let's say if somebody had their moon in Capricorn in their natal chart and it was retrograde, the disciplined, structured, responsible, ambitious, those consistent qualities may be a little bit harder to bring out and may be held in more than as opposed to a Capricorn moon that was direct in someone's natal chart. Now, another thing about, if the moon is retrograde in one's natal chart, it could also be about, some delays and, could be the delaying of the attainment of one's emotional needs. Now, let's say if somebody had the moon in Taurus and was retrograde in their natal chart. Now, there may be something, in terms of creature comforts, peace, stability, something with art, gardening, cultivation, even geology, Taurus related interests, those emotional needs may be delayed or take a little bit longer to attain, as opposed to if the moon was direct in Taurus in one's natal chart, as an example. Now, the moon is also about, our emotions, emotional nature, and, feelings. So, if you had, let's say, if the moon could be if the moon hypothetically could be retrograde, in one's natal chart, it could indicate, where you would have, where the feelings, may be, more inward, and harder to bring out, outwardly. Like, say if the moon was retrograde in Leo in someone's natal chart, the creative side, or being able to express, their feelings of grandeur, being, dominant, the confidence, matters with generosity, expressing magnanimous side, side that could be, somewhat emotions, maybe loud and boisterous. When they express their emotions, they may be loud and boisterous, but the thing is, it would be harder to express them outwardly. I would say if the moon could possibly, go retrograde. And Leo, is about ferocity. So, though that energy could be held back more and more internalized, as opposed to coming outside. Now, another thing, about the moon is that it has a connection with the public. It's interesting because, we think of the moon, governing, ruling the zodiac sign Cancer. It has a connection with introversion and home and family life, but it also has a connection with the public. So, I would say if the moon was retrograde in someone's natal chart, there may be a harder time in determining, for the self, how he or she may want, some kind of, public recognition if it's so desired. And, let's say if somebody had the moon in Virgo retrograde in their natal chart, that could be, doing something, if there was some need for some public recognition connected with, statistics or diagnostic work, something health related, being a popular fitness, person, or a veterinarian, somebody, that, working as an editor and gaining some, possible public recognition for that. There may be, there may be a little more difficulty in either whether it's determining, how a person may want to gain the public recognition, or maybe even receiving it if somebody is doing something, Virgo related. Now, another thing about, the moon, hypothetically could be retrograde. The thing about it is, keep in mind the moon is connected with caring and nurturing energy. So, as opposed to expressing more, the nurturing energy outwardly, the person may be more, may emphasize more self-care, caring and nurturing oneself and needs. And, say if somebody had the moon in Gemini retrograde in their natal chart, well, the person may simply, they may nurture and care for themselves, it could be through some kind of, mental stimulation, assimilating and disseminating information, just communication in general, things with manual dexterity, whether it could be auto or refrigeration mechanics, as some examples, doing something, with mental agility, playing a game like Haiku or Lumosity, as some examples. So, that is where you could have, where it may manifest, how it could manifest if the moon could possibly be retrograde. in a natal chart. And it's interesting because there seems to be, some theory, the fact that given that the sun and the moon are the two planets that don't and can't go retrograde. The sun rules Leo, and the moon, of course, governs the zodiac sign Cancer. And about those two signs, theories they often don't go back on their word. That there is a connection with that, but at the same time, I think the other fixed signs, which are Aquarius, Scorpio, and you're talking about Taurus, those signs, of course, are very loyal and steadfast, and have a hard time going back on their word as well. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.